Hello, everyone. We still have people joining and getting connected, so we'll give them just another minute. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, joining the Link Center for this shared learning group focused on the topic of developing emotional regulation and coping skills. I want to go over a few housekeeping items while we get started. The session is being recorded, and the recording and the transcript will be made available on our website. We welcome you to revisit the content yourself and share it with others. Attendees cannot see the names of other attendees, and all attendees are muted. Please use the chat function in Zoom to communicate with other attendees and hosts in the webinar. You can use the chat by clicking on chat at the bottom of your screen. Please be aware that your name will appear in the chat if you make a comment. You can change your display name by clicking on those three little dots next to your name and selecting Rename. We will have representatives from the Link Center watching the chat and responding throughout the session today. If you'd like to submit a question or a comment privately to the host and panelists, you can do that by clicking on the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. We have live captioning and ASL interpreters present today. We will be spotlighting the active speaker and the ASL interpreter throughout the webinar. If you click on View on your Zoom screen, you can change the way you see the panelists. And if you're having any trouble with your view, you can let us know in the chat, and we'll try to help you out. At this time, I'm going to hand the floor over to Dr. Stacy Nonamaker, who will get us started today. Stacy, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Stephanie, and hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. As Stephanie said, I am Stacy Nonamaker. I am with NASDES. We are one of the partners of the Link Center. By way of a visual description, I am a middle-aged white woman with shoulder-length, dirty blonde hair, straight hair with glasses. I'm wearing a cream color sweater, and I'm in front of a blue background. We are so very excited to be hosting this shared learning group today. And the Link Center is a project of national significance funded by the Administration for Community Living. And if you don't yet know about us, here's a QR code. Here's the link to our website. Please check us out. We like to say, and check back often, because we are constantly putting information up on our website, really aiming to increase and improve mental health access for people with IDD, brain injury, and other disabilities. We put a lot of time and effort into putting our feelers out there for resources and information that's already out there so that we can post that to the website. You'll see there's a resource tab there, as well as, really identifying what the gaps are and the needs are, which is one of the intentions of pulling you all together today, so that if there's something that as the Link Center, and there's many partners who are part of the Link Center, some of which you'll hear from today, but as the partners, if it's something that we can develop or create along with our steering committee, which is a group of very passionate people with lived experience, diverse lived experience, then that's what we're going to do. So we're really looking to elevate what's out there and create a call to action for things that may not be out there so that we can all better support people with co-occurring conditions. So what are shared learning groups? I'm not sure how many of you have joined us before, but shared learning groups are really an opportunity for us to pull together different communities who are also thinking about how to better support people with co-occurring condition. And we host 4 meetings per quarter, one for DSPs, one for clinical professionals, and we did those 2 meetings yesterday. And today we get to talk to families and people with lived experience. The topic of all 4 of these meetings is really the same, with the content being varied so that it really meets the needs based upon feedback that we've been given of the audience. So yesterday's presentation and this presentation focus on the family caregiver role is really going to be tailored to, as supporters, how can you take care of yourself, right? While also thinking about how you can take care of someone that you know, support, and love. So that content this afternoon will be a little different for people with lived experience. And we really urge you, if you know someone that would benefit from hearing from people with lived experience and what they do to regulate and cope with stressful situations, please have them join us this afternoon. The presentation and the content that you'll see is really a collaboration among the Link Center partners. And these are people with lived experience, like I mentioned, researchers and people who work on policy issues. As Stephanie mentioned, bears repeating, this will be recorded, transcribed, and all of the materials will be up on our website after the meeting. So please, another reason to go to our website, we'll offer that at the end of the meeting again, and the website link is in the chat, thanks to Stephanie. But we really encourage you to share this information, share everything about the Link Center. So some of you already beat me to it, and you have already done some introductions in the chat. That's great. So if you want to put your name and any group, association, maybe a state where you're coming from in the chat, it's always great to know who's hanging out with us. We like to know who our audience is. Also in today's agenda, we're going to be talking about the topic that we've already mentioned, developing emotional regulation and coping skills. And really, why are we talking about that? We're going to share some tools, some resources, some information around regulation and coping skills. And we're going to set aside some time at the end to do a group exercise that will help us put into action what we're learning around dealing with challenges that require emotional regulation and using coping skills to help us manage stressful situations. Couple goals, for our time together, there's the shared part of shared learning groups. And so we're going to share what we think about this topic, and we also want to hear from you all and what you're thinking about this topic. And so we're going to talk about the importance of self-care and managing emotions. We're going to give you some ideas and some information, as I mentioned, and then we want to hear from you. So please, chat's open. Feel free to engage in the chat. We love having, this is a very interactive session that we planned for you. So we want to know what you think about managing emotion during challenging moments. And then, are there any resources or information that you have that you can share with us, in addition to the ones that we'll share with you? And then, like I said, through the group exercise, we'll solve some example situations, and that really gives us the idea of how you're thinking about this topic. As I mentioned, we have a steering committee that really guides the work of the Link Center. And these are folks who, by way of these shared learning groups, have a lot of input into not just the topics and the things that we put out there for the shared learning groups, but also the content. We are always asking our steering committee, here's the topic. What do you think about this? What does this mean in your life? And we rely on them to give us really that context and that lived experience to frame what we do. They've also provided, which I love these, they called sharing lived experience, which are some foundational pieces that we present at the beginning of every one of the shared learning groups, so that we're all on the same page. And so we ask that you take care of yourself and do what is necessary for your comfort and care during our time together. We believe we should be gentle with ourselves and each other because this is hard work to do. And we know that sometimes the things that we talk about are sensitive. And so we're just saying, take care of yourself in any way you need to do that. We celebrate that we are all individuals from different backgrounds. We celebrate that we have shared experiences to learn from. We know that we are each unique with our own experiences in the world, and we are so glad that you're here to share your experiences with us. We listen and share with open minds and kindness. We do not judge or blame others for what they share. So again, I see you all saying hello in the chat, and that's great. It's so wonderful to see, who's here with us. But really to pivot and to get us really thinking around the topic of emotional regulation and coping strategies, we want to hear from you. We know that feeling supported and having everything you need is different for everyone. So we're asking you all, and please put this in the chat, what are the things that are important to you to feel like you have everything you need to feel physically, mentally, and emotionally well? And I've shared in other sessions that for me, this is easy. Being outside, being in nature, whether it's hiking, whether it's kayaking or camping, that's really important to me and my physical, mental, and emotional well-being. So curious to hear from you all to get us started and really thinking about those things that help our health and welfare and our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, our mental well-being. What's that look like for you? We know that that's different for everyone. Moving my body, running, hiking, bar class, being active. Yeah, that has more benefits than just physical benefits, right? So I want you all to think about that and don't hesitate, put it in the chat, and just great to hear how you're all thinking about this to get us started. Great. I see some other people putting some things in the chat. So if y'all want to put an eye on the chat and see what people are saying, thank you so much. So one of our other partners who you'll hear from, Dr. Andrea Whitworth today, is the Nysanger Center at the Ohio State University. And they're doing great work in understanding prevalence and the needs of people with co-occurring mental health conditions. We're going to show you a short video. It's a really good lead into the need for an example of how people tend to their health and welfare and really what we're thinking about and talking about today. So I want you to also know at the end of the video, it's also a great opportunity for people you may know with IDD who want to share their experience. And if you have any questions about this video or this project, you can pop that in the chat as well. As I said, Dr. Andrea Whitworth is with us and she is part of this project. So we'll play this short video for you.
How do you feel today?
I feel pretty good.
Flabbergasted.
Like $2,000, my man. Like $2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah.
I'm happy because I've been doing good work today.
How do you stay happy?
Simple answer, 2 words, video games.
By smiling.
Well, when I see Disney movies.
I have like my cat.
I enjoy my life. I'm playing games and I'm working out.
What do you do to make yourself feel better?
Running.
I cuddle with my cat.
Talk about my feelings.
What makes me feel better is like I meditate because it calms me down, and I like to pamper myself, like using face masks and stuff.
I listen to music. I have like a stress ball, so I play with the stress ball.
I like to eat.
I try to think that I got this whenever I'm faced with a difficult situation.
We want to hear from you. Join our health research project for adults with intellectual disability. You and your support person will get a $100 gift card. We want to hear about your experience with health so doctors can provide better care. Your voice matters.
Make your voice heard in our new research project about health and wellness called Can You Hear Us Now? Brought to you by the Ohio State University Nysanger Center.
Can you hear us now?
This video was produced by the Human Development Center at LSU Health New Orleans with the help of our Paycheck program. Learn more and sign up online at go.osu.edu/RRTCSTUDY or call 1-833-678-7782.
Great, thanks. So I went ahead and I popped the website into the chat because I know that went by fast. But again, I think it was a great way to kick off today's topic with people's experiences and also thoughts around what really contributes to their health and welfare. And I see you all still putting things in the chat. What really is important for you, and that's so great. But I now get to turn it over to Jean Farr, who is with NAD and one of our partners at the Link Center. And I also mentioned you'll hear from Dr. Andrea Whitwer, who is from the OSU Nysongar Center, who will talk more about our topic today. So Andrea and Jean, thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Stacy. Hi, everyone. I am Andrea Whitwer. I am a middle-aged woman, white woman with medium length brown hair. I'm wearing a black and pink and white plaid dress. You can't see the whole dress, you can just see the top. And I am a clinical psychologist and a professor at Ohio State University at the Nysongar Center, which is a University Center of Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. So what that means is that we as a center are interested in providing clinical services, support, research, and training around intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I'm really excited to talk about this project. As Stacy said, I'm involved in the RRTC HEROES project, which is really about understanding co-occurring conditions. And my part of the study is a little bit, I get to do another step of it is once we know that maybe one of the conditions folks have is difficulties with emotion regulation, how do we help them? And in that work, I've spent a lot of time also thinking about how do we help their caregivers, their family members, their direct support staff. So we're going to talk about that today. As Stacy said, so we're in a webinar form, so we can't kind of chat, but what I'm going to ask you to do, it just makes the session way more fun, is to be active in the chat. Feel free. I love commentary. I love suggestions. I'm going to ask you guys for some answers in the chat. I should have also said Jean is going to present the second half of this, and she'll introduce herself at that point. So we know that working with and supporting individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, brain injuries, and mental health conditions can be highly rewarding. It can be a great, wonderful thing, and it can also be very stressful. And it's really important for all of us to know how to manage our stress so that we can take care of our own well-being and provide the best support we can for those loved ones, those clients, and the people with disabilities that we're working with in our lives. Hence the session. So what we're going to do, what we're going to do is talk about some different strategies. I'm going to describe them. We're going to practice them, and then I'm going to ask you to share. And here's the reason why. So the research, there's a lot of research out there that tells us that parents, family members, caregivers, the stress that they experience impacts those that they care for and support. We know that this can in turn impact the behavior. There's a lot of research on children and children's behavior problems, children's mental health. And there's also some initial data that talks about the impact on adults as well. And what we know is that providing stress reduction to parents, caregivers, and direct support professionals can reduce their stress, their burnout, their symptoms of depression. And our initial data says that it can improve the health, mental health of adults with ID. And there's a ton of research that says when we provide stress reduction strategies to parents of children, children's behavior and skills improve as well. So it's really important. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming to try to take a minute out to do some of these strategies, but I always make that case that it's important. It's important for yourself and it's important for those other people in your lives. So, like I said, interactive. The other thing that I wanted to kind of just circle back to, if you've been on other sessions, you know, the Link Center has a ton of fabulous information that often is shared during this first part of our learning groups. And we really talked about, you know, it's just stressful right now. Things are stressful. So how can we take care of all of our participants? How can we work that in? So as a course of this, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of strategies, but we're also going to practice. So I'm going to invite you and ask you to just humor me, try some of these things, see what you like, see what you might want to put into your own practice, but at least take the next 90 minutes for you. First part of understanding emotion regulation is checking in. And I think this is one of these pieces in the current society, whether you're working, you're a parent, we're going all the time, maybe like 100 miles an hour, right? And it's important for us to check in and say, how am I doing right now? Understanding where you are. You don't have to judge. We just want to be mindful of where we are in our day and how is that feeling in our body. I want to give visual credit to one of our fabulous steering committee members that created her own mood check-in. She told us she does not like red and yellow, that she finds them very agitating and triggering for her. And so this color scheme is what she suggested that she use. And so what I'd like you all to do is tell me, how are you feeling today? Oh, I see Debbie's sharing an app that we'll have to check out too, howfeel.org. Now that I'm here, I'm moving towards okay, but I frankly have had a really frustrating morning. So I am probably at a 3.5, my friends. I'm working. I did some of my own strategies before this to move us back down. Let's see. So I see lots of 2s today. How about others? Take that minute. Reflect on yourself. Where are you? Exhausted and overwhelmed. Yeah, that's where it kind of maybe goes into that, like, where is it? I feel like that's a lot of us right now, Jennifer. So we recognize that. Okay. Thank you all for playing along with that part. So let's talk about some strategies. So breath work is something that the research has long showed us actually helps to regulate our nervous system and really can act to regulate our emotions. I think, and it's a little bit more than like you're in a frustrated state and someone says, take a deep breath. And it's like, you know, or it's that we might let out that like poof of I'm so frustrated. This is a little bit differently. The whole idea of this is controlled breathing. It's this idea of taking a very slow, deep breath to help regulate our emotions and create a calming effect on you and those around you. That's that other piece. As we said, we know that there is this aspect and impact on those around us. So being able to take those deep breaths can help. So one of the ways to do that is to do something called diaphragmic breathing. The whole idea is we're going to inhale very deeply through our nose and let our abdomen, our stomach expand. And then we exhale slowly through our mouth. The trick here is that we want to exhale slower and longer than we inhale. So we're really going to be mindful and thinking about and controlling our breath. So let's practice this here. So we're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's really a slowing of that breath. So I want to pause. How was that for you? Was that something you've done before? Was it hard to breathe out that longer? What do you all think? Love to hear some thoughts in the chat. Do you find yourself paying attention a little bit more? Yeah, it just helps ground me, right? It just takes like that little bit. You know what? I want to fight it. I know it's hard. Yeah, Matthew. And I feel like it takes a little bit of practice. That first time, I always feel like I'm running out of air. It took me a long time to get to that point. So it's all about that. Yeah, breathe out really fast. So it's that whole idea of trying to kind of go a little bit slower. Stacy put a great video in the chat. It's called Breathing with Shapes. It's another way. I will argue, I don't think it has the whole breathe in and breathe out longer, but it helps you think about how to regulate your breath a little bit more. So it shows a box expanding and then contracting, which I like to use. There's also the Calm app if you have a smartwatch that does the same thing. It gives you that visual support that sometimes we need to shift our mindset. It also can be a fabulous tool with our folks with co-occurring conditions to be able to have that visual support. So I'm going to encourage you to think about that one. The other thing you can do is doing it together with the person that you support. So I think that's another powerful skill, is modeling it throughout the day, but then also let's breathe together and then out, and helping them understand the matching of it. The other one that I really like to use is something called box breathing. This is a little bit more along those lines of that mindfulness-based piece. So what we're going to do here, I'll kind of warn you guys ahead of time, is we're going to breathe in, we're going to hold, and then we're going to breathe out, hold, and breathe back in. Okay, so I'll walk you guys through this one too. We'll do this one twice, just like the last one. Okay, ready? Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what did folks think of this one? Different, a little bit more need to be mindful. The other thing, I'll let you guys, I'd love to hear the comment, like comparisons. Which one did you like better? I think that's that other piece, is trying out what works for you. I like both. What I find personally is that I like the box breathing. Okay, Debbie likes the first one better, and that's okay too. That hold, you got to get used to it. Same thing goes for that. I was like, oh, I want to breathe. I want to breathe. I did not like it at first. When I started to do it more and more, I realized it was a great way to bring my mind back to what's going on around me. So if I'm thinking about a bunch of stuff before bed, if I do that, I'm counting and I'm really being mindful of that piece and the holding, and can go. I know, I agree. I think finding, I see you, Carly, that like the holding uncomfortable. So I would say don't kind of completely get rid of it yet. Try a little bit. You could even do it with a count of 2 to get more comfortable, but you can also just say, nope, that's not it. We have, in our treatment development study that I'm working on, we have a group of folks with IDD who are advising us, and they really didn't like box breathing either. They kind of nixed it because they didn't like the holding as well. So, so yeah, I think it's a matter of trying what works best for you, and then working with those you are around to see what might work best for them, which could be completely different for each of you. So yeah, so controlled breathing, there's great data around it. Thinking about what works for you. The other nice thing that I like with the box breathing is two things. One, there are some great visuals. If you literally just Google box breathing, you'll see a whole bunch of pictures that come up. The other thing that somebody in our group yesterday pointed out is there are squares everywhere in our environment too. A lot of us have these phones, right? So you can use this as your prompt if you need it. So computer screens, you know, the TV, tracing it. So it's something that there's a visual support you can find lots of different places. Okay, so we want to think about tone and language and how we can use that to regulate our own emotions as well as those around us. So some of it, this is one that I will often find myself when I am amped up, I'm talking faster, I'm louder, some of those pieces. So kind of using that mindful strategy of, okay, it's time for me to slow down and speak with a calm voice. One that helps me, two that helps the person that I'm interacting with as well. So it provides that double piece for us. So when someone is talking loud and agitated and ramping up, the other person tends to. Whereas if we're speaking more slowly and calm in a nice steady tone, that can be helpful. We also want to use clear, positive language. This can be related to our own self-talk of ourselves, but also with those that we are working with. So I loved our video where the one guy says, I just tell myself that I've got this. I can do this. I've done this before. Those are the things you can say to yourself. Those are the things we can say to our loved ones and the people that we support. You've got this. I've seen you do awesome things. I know you're worried about this, but I've seen you get through this, you know, versus saying, no, stop worrying. It's not going to be bad, right? Those could be words that could trigger stress. So thinking through that, the other piece that I'll often say is maybe you're having a hard time getting to that point where you can use that clear language. That's where taking that moment and doing your own breath work can be very helpful to get you to that point. It can get your mind a little bit clearer so that when it comes time to reframe situations by focusing on the solution, I know that you are very upset that Sarah hasn't called you because you wanted to do something with her. Let's think about what can you do right now? What are some fun things we could do, right? How do we focus on solutions rather than problems? It's hard when we're in a negative stress space sometimes for ourselves to think about the solution. We get kind of stuck thinking about the problem. Same thing goes for those folks that have intellectual developmental disabilities, brain injuries, and co-occurring conditions. Another strategy that is rooted in the mindfulness-based literature are grounding techniques. This is the whole idea of engaging in sensory awareness activities. This can be doing a body scan to notice how your body feels in your environment, how it feels temperature-wise within your seat. One is a looking exercise that's just a matter of taking in the environment around you. I think the goal here is not in a judgmental way. So you're not looking at the undone stuff. You're just thinking like, oh, look, there's my door over there. Here's my computer. It's this way we're getting ourselves grounded in the here and now. If sometimes that can be a challenge, you can focus on an actual object. Want it to be a neutral object? When I say my chapstick, a rock. I have a rock in my coat that I sometimes can hold on to if I feel like I need to get grounded. Maybe it's an oral thing, taking a sip of warm tea, smelling an oil or a smell. Those things are things that you can do to really work on grounding yourself. There's another grounding activity and mindfulness activity that I'd like to walk you guys all through. It's based on some research that's been done by Nirbhay Singh and his group, looking at how to help adults with intellectual disability and autism regulate their emotions. And he's really found that by teaching folks to do this mindfulness activity with their feet can help to reduce the urge to yell at folks, to have verbal aggression, or to be physically aggressive. So there's some cool research behind this, and it's something that we can do and teach those around us. So it's called the soles of the feet. The way that the practice session would go with a person is that we would work on making them understand that when an incident occurs that would typically make them angry, they may feel like threatening someone or acting out and hurting someone. And it's important in those situations for them to control those feelings. We don't want to threaten or hurt people when we disagree with them. So this is a nice way to get folks back. This is also a nice way for us when we are feeling frustrated with someone, with some activity, to again shift our mindset. So what I'd like you all to do, if you're standing, I'd like you to stand in a neutral position with the soles of your feet on the ground. If you're sitting, I want you to sit comfortably with the soles of your feet flat on the floor. I want you to first think about an incident that made you angry or frustrated. Stay with that emotion for a little bit. You're feeling that anger or frustration. Let it flow. You're not going to try to stop it at this point. We're just feeling it. You might feel your body, my shoulders will tense. You might feel yourself start to breathe more. Okay, now I want you to shift your attention to the soles of your feet, to the bottom of your feet. Slowly move your toes. Feel your shoes covering your feet. Feel the texture of your socks, the curve of the arch of your foot, the heel of your foot against the back of your shoe. If you don't have shoes on, feel the carpet or the floor with the soles of your feet. Keep breathing naturally and focus on the soles of your feet until you feel calm. And the whole idea here is that we practice this not only when we're in that agitated state, but throughout the day. And that allows us to be able to use it more often when we do need it in those stressful situations. It also helps to calm that body in between those times. Wondering what people thought of the soles of the feet. What do you think of that mindfulness meditation? Oh, Debbie's saying surprised by how well. I know, right? It seems really simple. You're just concentrating on your feet. It's one that just can help you, like, yeah, just shift your focus. Justin's saying, I love this, new to it, but I enjoy thinking about frustration leaving me and going into the ground. That's a nice visual too. It's just getting out of you. Yeah, and this is a cool, like I said, this is one that's been used with lots of different groups. So even folks that maybe need some visual prompts, one of the things they've done is put like a dot on their foot so that they know where they're supposed to focus. And it's one, right? We always have our feet with us. So we can just be using that in that moment. You feel it, like Justin said, sometimes I like to feel I'm grounded and then start to feel with those feet. What I will do is put a copy of this script in the chat in a little bit, just so you all can use it if you want. And I want to check in now. How are we feeling now? Just taking and slowing down and doing some of that breath work myself. I think I was at a 3.5. I'm now probably like a 1.5. Not quite all the way there yet, but I think after a little bit more I could. How about all of you? How are you feeling? 1.5. Quite there, but we're getting there, right? Matthew and Justin. It's also okay if you're not there yet, right? So the whole idea with mood check-ins is just to recognize where you are so that you understand. And that's something we can use with the folks that we support as well. When we know where they are, we know what maybe demands we should put on them, or maybe it's not the best time to try to do learning this new skill or trying to do the laundry if we know they're at that angered state. So thank you so much for listening with me. I'm going to turn it over to Jean Farr, who's going to ask you for your strategies and then also take us into the second part of our session.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrea, and I am delighted to be here with all of you. I'm Jean Farr, and I am an older white woman with brown hair, glasses, earrings, and a dark red sweater. And I'm sitting against a dark brown background. I work for NAD. We're an association for people with intellectual and or developmental disabilities and co-occurring mental health conditions. We provide resources, training, conferences. We're kind of a professional home for people that care about, work with, do research in, write about, train, anything related to IDD and co-occurring mental health conditions. I am also a very active family member of two wonderful and also complicated people with IDD and co-occurring mental health challenges, one of whom is my nephew, and he has given me permission throughout my my time today to mention a couple of things he does to calm down when he is upset. So as Andrea mentioned at the beginning of this wonderful session, this is super interactive. So as we go through here, it would be great to hear from you as family members regarding the things that you do to take care of yourself and also strategies you use to help your loved one kind of relax and take care. So as the time passes, we'll kind of note, what you say in the chat. And for those of you that aren't really quick reading chat, I just wanted to note some of the things that were mentioned earlier on. And I say this because the beauty of these shared learning groups is that we can learn from each other, and that always informs my thinking and expands my capacity in whatever area we're talking about. And this is a particularly tender area, an important area in my life and all of our lives, because it is a time unlike any other, and we're all having to navigate in different ways. And self-care is so critical to our ability to care for those we love, as we all know. But some of you mentioned nature, hiking, camping, exercise, connecting with others, time alone, music, pets, reading, cooking, crafting, routines, setting boundaries, cultivating peaceful space. These are all such important things to remember. And again, if you think of things as we go forward here, please raise your hand or note them in the chat. When I think of self-care, it is particularly tricky in a way, and it's important across all aspects of a life, work, home, everything. But I find as a family member that it can get a little complicated because you're a family member 24 hours a day, and we all have patterns, and self-care is just critically important for all of us. So one thing to think about, and that I do, is just thinking about your environment. How can you create a supportive environment? Something that is not assaultive in any way, but soothing. Keeping noise levels moderate, using nature sounds or music or whatever works for you. For me, it's rain. I love the sound of rain, and I love the sound of ocean. For my nephew, when he is upset or wants to kind of move out of a situation, he will listen to buses driving down various streets in the country and trains. And he is magnificent at understanding and knowing which city, which street. He can, I remember asking him one day, how do you know that that's Sacramento as opposed to Buenos Aires? And he can tell by the sound of the tires. And there's some way in which he understands how buses are built, that he knows where they are. So it's something that not only does it distract him, but it soothes him. It soothes him deeply. And it's a really cool thing to be able to know and use that kind of a passion when helping someone move through a tough spot. Reducing visual clutter, in a space can help be calming. Warm, soft lighting. I am one person who has big trouble with fluorescent lights. And so whenever I have control over my own environment, I always have really soft lighting, and I have an abundance of these battery operated candles in my workspace and home space. Some people like to introduce scents, calming scents like lavender or vanilla. There's all sorts of kind of environmental ways to create a space that is soothing and nurturing and calming in the midst of maybe things that aren't so calm on the outside. Also, movement can help when we're under stress and we want to, really take care of ourselves in a tough moment. Stretching or walking to relieve tension. Rhythmic activities like rocking, or tapping fingers, that can help. I know that some people use like shake off, physically shake off things. A neuroscientist that I've enjoyed reading, I've enjoyed reading his research, talks about how we've evolved into this kind of complicated way of living where we have to seek out the things like that we mentioned earlier, nature. Sometimes people have mentioned, like the other day, people were mentioning yesterday, food and sleep. We've evolved into a way of living where we have to kind of like go a little bit out of our way sometimes to make sure we get enough of those basic human needs met. And one of the things he noted was that animals, when they're under stress and kind of prepare and then go through a stressful moment, they just shake it off, literally physically shake it off. And I've actually found that to be helpful myself. And I know other people that I have worked with, and I've done it with my nephew, where we just kind of jump up and down and, move our bodies around to kind of move out of a tough moment. So there's a lot of ways to look at and to experiment with reducing stress. Also, when you're going to be in a tough moment or spot, taking 3 deep breaths before either going into a situation or responding to a situation can be remarkably helpful. It can help not only calibrate the cells in our body to just kind of quiet down a bit, but it also prevents us from perhaps responding in a way that we may not want to in the moment. It helps just invite us to slow down a minute, kind of like the breathing that we practiced earlier, just a way to stop, just to kind of stop and be quiet for a minute. Also, clenching and releasing fists. That that really works for some people, just, clenching really, really hard and then releasing the energy. Some people use stress balls. I use this cute little stress ball sometimes. We all have different ways in which we can learn how to reduce the stress in our body. Some people have great success with bilateral tapping. So for instance, you can just tap different sides of your body. You can do this with your hands like this. You can do it on your, thighs, your knees. It kind of like engages and serves to synchronize both sides of your brain in a nice kind of quiet, calm way. Also thinking about when you're in a stressful situation with someone, what can you do in the moment to reduce the stress level? Can you lower your body? For instance, if someone that you're working with, a family member or just anyone in life where, you might be viewed as kind of a dominant presence, lower your body. If you can lower your body, meet the person kind of more where they are, do things to help the person feel more in control, use distraction techniques like redirecting some, attention to a familiar or calming topic. Sometimes with my nephew, I will ask him if he's caught in a moment, and again, he did give me permission to share with you. If he's caught in a moment where he can't quite get himself out of a loop of concern, I'll ask him, like, how can I get from my office to his place by public transportation? And he'll then kind of switch because he's got this like public transportation superpower. And he will tell me, he'll kind of switch for a minute and tell me, how to get there. Or I'll ask him when he was listening to trains earlier, because he listens every day, I'll ask him where the train was from, something like that. And giving people a choice during stressful moments. It could be, when I think of family members that I know, and where maybe they get into a bit of a power struggle with their loved one or a disagreement of some sort, being able to give that person choices, simple, clear choices, giving them more control, giving them more kind of agency in the moment can be really, really helpful and diffuse the situation, because they're not, kind of the recipient of whatever it is, but they're more of a participant in the situation. Also, what can help very much is, when you're going to go between family members, between situations, can you develop sort of transition rituals? So if you're attending to, for example, one of your children or your partner, and you know that you're going to be moving into attending to another member of your family, can you what can you do to develop just moments? Could be deep breaths, stretching, stepping outside. Just what can you do to kind of realign your inner self, your heart, your mind, your body, to allow you to go fully into the next engagement, the next moment. Also, if you've got fellow family members, other people as part of your personal support network that you can talk to, if you identify people that you trust and set up times where you can talk about the challenges that you're dealing with, and try to help each other identify ways in which you can take good care of yourself during difficult moments and learn from each other. Also encouraging open communication within your family and within your network about stress and about the developing a culture of support. I think that it just can really help us when we can all talk about stress and kind of what is it and how do we move together through it. Also, remember that most of us are doing the best we can. Acknowledge your successes, acknowledge what you've accomplished, the progress, even on difficult days. Just acknowledge the positive things in your life. Use positive affirmations. It's amazing. Research has shown us clearly that when we tell ourselves things, positive affirmations, I'm doing my best, I am enough, our body kind of believes us. It just, we're able to focus and positively affirm the aspects of ourselves we can feel really good about. And the more we do that, the more just internally receptive we are. And it really does work, which is lovely. It may not feel like it in the moment, but it really does. It works. So again, continue. If you've got any ideas here, anything that works for you, we would love to have you included in the chat here. We're going to continue to monitor that. And at this point in our presentation, I would like to turn it back to my colleague, Andrea, who is going to share some resources with you.
Hi, all. So just a few practical resources that I use and other things where you can get more information. I'm going to actually start at the bottom and then go up towards the top. So first, the Positive Psychology website has just a nice introduction to mindfulness-based stress reduction and some information about it if it's not something you've heard of. Second, there are a ton of great apps out there. The one that I personally like to use for myself and recommend for others is Insight Timer. It's completely free and it has breath work. It has some of the tension and release things that Jean was talking about, visualization, calming music, calming sounds, recited poems. There's a lot of great ways to meditate, and it kind of has all of them. I think one of the other pieces is there's meditations for being grateful and thinking about what you're grateful for, which is another great strategy. So those are two resources. The other thing I wanted to just share with you is our steering committee member, Alicia, shared the daily check-in that she uses with her staff. So she will fill this out every day. They have it in a survey. I think it's in like a Google Doc that she and her team use. And it's just a nice way when we think about that emotion regulation. These are things that you could do with the folks you support or even yourself. I think having an intention for the day, what is one goal you have? What is one thing you're grateful for? I said talking about the things that you're grateful for and having the practice of gratitude improves mood and folks' emotions. Words that describe what you want to see for your day. Maybe describing it beyond that is hard for someone. Checking in on what is your physical body feeling today. That definitely impacts our mood and the folks that we support, and having maybe a pain scale that you look at to ground yourself or the folks that you support. There's also, you scroll down a little bit more, a nice visual support for the pain so that we can understand where someone's pain is. That helps us when we're thinking about prompting them through lots of things within their daily lives and understanding how to best support someone with their physical pain. This is another nice thing, what zone of emotions you're in. Zones of regulation is another evidence-based strategy often used in the schools to help children be able to recognize in themselves what zone they're in, whether it's the good zone, I'm feeling brave, I'm feeling creative, the caution zone, or oh, stop, maybe the warning zone. And so this is just another nice way to do that check-in for the day. The other one that I like that Alicia has is spoons. I don't know if you've heard this before. How many spoons do you have today? So some days I might start out with like all 7 spoons. Some days I might start out with 5, and people know I'm going to give a spoon away every time I'm feeling frustrated or feeling that I have to push myself. What are the things that the individual would like help with that day? So checking in so you're on the same page with one another. Understanding what was people helped the individual with yesterday. things that need to be done. So some more long-term goal setting, how her staff can best support her for the day, what are like unmet needs, and then a positive thing, right? What was something this week that you made a good choice, handled a conflict, used a skill, right? We got to remind ourselves we do lots of great stuff. We are very successful in many things. So I will share, I have a PDF form of this if you're interested in the questions and the things that are on there. But just wanted to share that with you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Max and Wendy, who are going to walk us through our group exercise.
Well, thank you very much for all that good presenting. For those who don't know me, for those who don't know me, I am Max Barrows. I am Outreach Director for Green Mountain Self Advocates. I am wearing a white shirt with very thin light blue stripes. It's a dress shirt. I am a black man with short black hair. I'm wearing black headphones and I have a black tie on, as well as just a white link center like blank background. So before we kick things off with our group exercise, I would like to just take a moment and have Wendy introduce herself.
Thank you, Max. Hello, everybody. I'm Wendy Morris. I work with the National Association for State Mental Health Program Directors and part of the Link Center team. I am an older white woman with gray hair that is pulled back into a loose bun. I am wearing kind of a rust-colored shirt and glasses. So good to be here. Thank you, Max.
Thank you. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a exercise, and I'm going to read a scenario, and your job is to listen to that scenario, and then we're going to ask you a couple of questions on how you or the person in the scenario you think how it should be handled. All righty. So you are the family member and caregiver of a 30-year-old man with Down syndrome and generalized anxiety disorder. This morning, he is very anxious, angry, and is refusing to attend his job, a place he has worked happily for several years. He is pacing and repeatedly asking if he is going to lose his job and his home. His voice is shaking and he is crying. He shares with you that there have been changes in management at work, and the new supervisor speaks quickly and harshly, so he feels unsafe and unable to ask questions or ask for help. He says that he feels lost, is afraid of making mistakes, and is convinced that he is going to lose everything important to him. As he's talking, he becomes more agitated. He starts breathing hard and his fists are clenched. After you help him regulate, you notice that you are dysregulated. You are upset about the way your family member is being treated, and you are worried for him. You aren't sure what this means for his job and are feeling tense and anxious. So the first question that we have for you all is, what strategies can you use to regulate yourself? You can put it in chat, but if you'd like, I will also invite you to, or we, I should say, also invite you to kind of put yourself on mute and say it. But first question, what strategies can you use to regulate yourself?
And you can put in examples that we've already talked about, maybe something you've already put in the chat or you heard somebody else talk about. It doesn't have to be a new idea.
Some deep breathing, yep. Debbie Wilson says that.
And we went through a couple examples of that today. So finding a technique that works for you.
Taking space.
Yeah, that's a great one. Maybe leaving the room for a minute, giving yourself some quiet or just some a minute to yourself. That's what I think of when I think of taking space. Matthew, I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but
yes.
Yes, great. Sometimes I ask for space too, right? When I'm feeling agitated, I will say to somebody, I need a little space. I need a few minutes to myself to compose myself before we talk any further.
Fix a cup of tension tamer tea.
Oh, I'll have to find out what that is. Tension tamer tea. Great idea. Maybe some chamomile or some different soothing flavors. Is it the warmth of the tea,
Chamomile.
the smell of the tea? Yeah, chamomile tea helps me a lot.
I like lemon ginger.
Oh, yeah, I like anything ginger. So great. That's a great idea. Maybe are there other drinks or the sensations of that help other people besides tea?
And it doesn't have to be tea. It could be anything to regulate yourself.
Absolutely.
Depends on the tea too, because sometimes teas can put me to sleep. Nature. You know, it's funny because nature, you may want to hear this, nature, but Tyrone, but I have been getting into doing a lot more in nature, especially when I was feeling like anxious about what's been going on with the pandemic. I actually got into calling birds.
Nice. So, and then Miranda says cleaning my aquariums, and right as she was posting that, we have a big black lab here visiting with our grandkids this week, and as we were talking about what helps, she put her head in my lap, and I thought there's another good one, right? Our animals. So whether we're cleaning an aquarium, taking our dog for a walk, or maybe just having some attention or time with our animals.
Gene Farr says, I like to close my eyes and listen to sounds. That's good. What kind of sounds? Depends on the person, but I'm just curious.
Right, you said for you it's birds, right, Max?
Well, it depends on the sound. That's one. Yeah. I have somebody said, breathe, take a short walk outside, clench and release muscles. Sometimes even long walks too can do it.
And then
Tyrone said nature is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Max.
Tyrone, nature is definitely something that is calming. Going to the park and just listening to all of the birds talk and just hearing my surroundings and the smell of nature also. I also got the sounds that are around me in the moment.
Yeah. So it sounds like for Jean is just kind of focusing maybe on what sound she hears. I think we had some other examples of that earlier where we could focus on our feet, right? So maybe for Jean, it's focusing on
Mhm.
sounds. That's a good one.
Mhm. Anything else before we move on to the next question?
Oh,
Long
that's a good
bath.
one.
Yep,
Yeah.
that can be something. Just lying in the bath, it's nice and warm. Yep.
Mhm. I know yesterday some folks talked about putting the warm rice packs on their shoulders. So the other ways to bring warmth or pressure to the body. But yeah,
Mhm.
great.
And it's okay if you put other answers to the first question that we are asking, but how about this one? Once you feel regulated, how can you help your family member? Once you feel regulated, how can you help your family member?
Next one off camera. Let's see. Debbie says, once I'm regulated, I can think more clearly and be a better and calmer advocate. That is such a great point, Debbie, right? It can be
Sorry about
difficult to focus on what somebody else needs when we are feeling tense and agitated. And so sometimes you may have to go back and forth, right? Help your person and then help yourself to regulate and then go back and do a little bit more work helping your loved one.
Mhm.
So that's a really great point.
Apologize for going off camera. I had to stretch.
That's all right. Got to take care of ourselves. That's what we always tell our audience, right, Max?
Yep.
Yeah. So what are some other ideas folks have about helping your family member to regulate their emotions?
Mhm.
Got a quiet group today, Max.
I
And
should
that's
say that it's good if they're thinking.
That's right.
I don't think it's bad to be quiet. However, I am very curious because I am one of those people that likes to learn from people that I present to or we
Yeah.
present to.
And that's a good reminder, I think, to participants today that this isn't a quiz, right? It's really us trying to learn from you so that we have some ideas
Mhm.
to put out for other people. So thank you, Tamara. She says, remove from the location or area of tension. Talk to them in a calming voice. So two really great ideas.
Mhm.
Moving to another area, maybe go outside or to another room, another space altogether, and using a calming voice. That's terrific.
Mhm.
I think using a calming voice can it helps me too, right? When I lower my
Right.
voice, it can help me kind of get myself under control, and
Absolutely.
bring a calm to the space and the conversation.
Yep. Validate their feelings. That's a good one.
It is where we all get anxious or afraid or upset at times. And I think, Miranda, that's so important to let people know it's okay to be upset. It's okay that you're
Mhm.
feeling frustrated or confused and that's bringing up some big feelings for you. So I love that one. Kind of sets the stage for
Be patient.
yes, great.
Being
Thank you.
patient. Yep.
That can be hard sometimes.
It can be.
Yeah.
Try to redirect to positive aspects, success of his work. That's a good one.
yeah, it kind of goes back to that. You got this, right? You've done this
Yeah.
before. You've done hard things, and we'll
Mhm.
get through this. Let's talk about how you've been successful in the past and how we can use those skills and tools. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yep. Being calm, empathetic, be supportive without taking on responsibility.
I like that. So kind of stay person-centered and help the person work through it, not take the responsibility and figure out solutions or tell them how to do it, right? Is that maybe what you meant, Miranda? Yeah,
Yes.
great. Yeah, that could be hard to do too. I know as a mother, I want to fix everything, and that's
Yeah.
always what my family needs from me.
Extremely hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Anybody else? Help him strategize and maybe practice how to communicate with his new supervisor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could be, yep. That's important, because maybe the supervisor doesn't know that this person, it could be a new well, of course it said a new, but he may not have experience or much knowledge on how to work with everybody.
That's a good point. And he may be new to the role of supervisor. He may not have done that before.
Right.
Miranda adds that you can't fix everything. Sometimes you just need somebody to listen. That's so important.
Yeah, it's not a perfect world out there. Even
No.
though some of us wish it is, like it's not going to be that way, but you got to do the best you can. So good point, Miranda.
And what's perfect for one is not necessarily
Perfect for others.
for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Well, we've gotten so many good responses.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is great. I think everyone really did put their minds into this. Thank you. We love learning all this from you, and just keep sharing your thoughts. All right.
You want to?
Thanks so much, Wendy and Max.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Max. I've learned a lot. And being part of the sessions yesterday, full disclosure, I have downloaded the Insight Timer app and did my mindfulness training this morning with that app. So I can totally endorse that. It's something that y'all need to check out. This has been great. Again, it's been wonderful learning from you all. Hopefully you all have gotten some additional tools, thoughts, ideas to take care of yourself, and some tools, thoughts, and ideas to support others. Just the last plea for you all before we let you go is to say, again, if you're thinking about anything that you use, resources, trainings, websites, any places for information about this topic, we really are looking for some feedback for you. We know that there are things out there that we don't know about. I really am thinking about that last piece that we talked about ways that we can understand what works for someone that we support, and how can we support their use of these coping skills and co-regulate, right? Which is really important, and you all brought this up. And also acknowledging that may change. What worked yesterday may not work today. And one thing that was brought up that I want to share yesterday, that one thing that's critical for people is maybe to start by teaching them what stress or anxiety feels like in their body, or what are the things that perhaps trigger them, because awareness really is the first step, right? One of the things that, Max, that you just met, created along with some folks from our steering committee is something called the Managing Triggers tool. So it's a worksheet of sorts to help work with someone and walk them through what are the things, particularly if they've experienced or had some traumatic experience in their life, to really help them identify what are those triggers and what are some ways that they can support themselves, and what are some ways that others can support them as well. So thanks again for joining us. We really do value this time together. And, hoping that you'll join us again. Here's the schedule of some past and upcoming shared learner groups. As we mentioned, you can find recordings, transcripts, and other materials from past events on our website. And you can register for upcoming shared learning groups on the website as well. In July, we're going to be talking about the importance of system partnerships and what does that look like given your role. So really would love if you would join us. Again, here is the website, the QR code, the link. Please check us out, visit us, and today is not the only day that you have an opportunity to give us some feedback and let us know what you all are thinking about the mission of the Link Center, which is really around access to mental health supports for people with IDD, brain injury, and co-occurring conditions. And Stephanie once again dropped the link to the website in the chat. So would love to hear from you. And we would love to hear what you thought about today and your time with us today. And we really do, look at these evaluations. It's a quick evaluation. So you can use that QR code. We'll also put the link in the chat. And it will also, the evaluation will pop up when we close the Zoom today, and you will get an email. So one way or another, we're just saying, can you please take just another moment or two of your time that we know is so precious, and just let us know what you think about today's shared learning group. Your feedback really helps us make improvements and adjustments for future groups. And lastly, just huge thank you to Tyrone Launderville and Alicia Hopkins, 2 of our steering committee members who helped us develop the content for this series of shared learning groups. Thank you to Jean and Andrea for diving in and giving us some more tools and things to think about as we navigate and manage stressful situations, right? They're inevitable, but hopefully you're feeling a little more equipped to manage them. And as always, thank you to all the partners and the Link Center Steering Committee for contributing to the preparation of and the content for today's meeting. So that's all that we have for you today. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, and please join us again next quarter in July. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.